Saturday. Christmas comes early.
Unbelievable! Welcome to this incredible scene.
Bills.
To the end zone!
Chargers.
It's a touchdown!
An exclusive NFL game.
That's fantastic!
Live in primetime.
Wow!
Only on Peacock.
With a Christmas gift to their fans. They're having some fun now.
Bills versus Chargers. Saturday, 7:30 Eastern. Exclusively on Peacock.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Pod Mavericks After Dark. This is Kirk and Josh joining you on, I guess it's Wednesday night, November 15th, a little before 9 o'clock. The Dallas Mavericks just defeated the Washington Wizards 130 to 117. Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing good, but before we start, I think you need to apologize for what you said last night. I expect a written statement before the show's over if you don't already have one prepared.
We'll circle back to that in the second half of the show. This was a really nice. So first of all, how bizarre is the 6 o'clock start time? Like on weekdays, rather, like we have them on weekends, but a 6 o'clock start time. I honestly forgot, and I schedule stuff. I am like the site scheduler. I was outside. I bought my son that if anybody follows me on social media, I got him a subscription to this service called Dribble Up. And it's like it uses the iPad camera to help like track dribbling. It's really cool. Anyways, we were like doing a session, and then I was like, oh no, the Mavs game started. And yeah, so this is their third game in their short 4-game road trip. And it's their, looking at the schedule here, this is their third game in four nights. And, they came out after getting really royally embarrassed last night against New Orleans in New Orleans, only to have to travel overnight to play Washington. And, the Wizards are really bad, but they're still an NBA team. And it was never really a game. Never really a game.
No, they jumped on them early. It was pretty clear. This isn't surprising. Like, Luka is pretty consistent in bouncing back from bad games in a big way. So it's not surprising that the first quarter, he really kind of put the pedal to the metal.
I mean, he almost matched his stats. Nice. He matched his first. He had 13, 2, and 1. In the first quarter, and last night he had 16, 2, and 2. So he was like, yeah, I'm really good at basketball was the thing. He did the Luka Doncic thing. Kyrie Irving didn't play. The Mavericks said, Jason Kidd said beforehand, he was experiencing some discomfort, so they just thought it best to take precautions, which my official unmedically, licensed position is that Kyrie Irving is going to be dealing with foot issues the entire year. And so I think this was a wise choice.
Get him rest where he can.
Get him rest where he can. He's been a real warrior this year, playing through this. And I really sincerely mean that. Foot stuff sucks. I can't imagine like when quickness is your main ally, being in uncomfortable all the time.
And especially for a guy like pre-pandemic, like before all that stuff, struggled with injuries at times to stay on the floor. So that the fact that he has played through a foot injury, I think is meaningful when you consider earlier in his career just how many lower body injuries he had that kept him off the floor.
Yeah. And so the Mavericks didn't need him tonight. They had a dark hero rise in the form of Tim Hardaway Jr., who just good gravy, Timmy. He was 7 of 11 from 3, 31 points to lead the team in scoring. He even had 3 assists, which is pretty funny because Tim is not, it's not like Tim is dishing dimes.
He's not here to pass. That's not his job. Okay.
We did get a little bit of a scare as Kyle Kuzma kind of crashed into the side of his knee. It looked like Tim walked off the floor under his own power, but knees are a tricky thing. The Mavs took him back to the locker room. I want to say the broadcast said that he was just going to remain back there, but in all honesty, with how KG teams are about injury stuff, we're not going to know more until they decide to tell us more.
Yeah, post game, Kid and both Tim and Kid have done their post game obligation.
Tim did post game.
Yeah, he said they both said that he's fine. So
okay, well, Tim actually doing post game is usually a sign of that, because if somebody's actually hurt, then they find a reason for an excuse and that sort of thing. That's some good news. It's not like the Mavericks needed good news, but you never want a guy who plays like Tim did tonight. And it's just fans are so funny. So many of the comments that we get are just so harsh about like Tim and Dwight, and fans that don't like Tim really don't like Tim. But tonight was just a reminder of how valuable he can be, because like he makes up his mind to shoot. He's going to shoot.
Yeah, and especially when you consider the context of the rest of the roster, like maybe we'll get around to the other end of the spectrum of guys that need to shoot when they're open or need to shoot more. But like, I mean, look at Luka took 11 threes, Tim took 11 threes. Then Grant took 7, and then after that, you got Jones at 5, and then Josh Green at 4, and like if he's not shooting threes, if role's not filled on the roster, whether it's him or another high volume, like he's filling a role that like every good NBA team has. Like this is not a unique thing. Like good NBA offenses have to have high volume 3-point shooters that can play off the stars. So he is filling that almost perfectly right now. And he has been for the last couple of years. The other stuff annoys you, defensively and, some of the knucklehead kind of offensive possessions that he has. But like, man, I mean, you take him away from this roster and it's like, what do they look like shooting the ball if he's not around? And that's a reminder, I think.
And you can speak to this better than I can speak to it, because I'm not really good about noticing kind of play design and optionality in real time. But I think Tim's threes were one of the things that led to Lively having like free reign to dive down the court, because it felt like the Wizards kind of started basically overcompensating for how like solid Tim was shooting the ball. And I don't, Lively just once again, 24 minutes, 17 points, 9 boards, 2 blocks, 1 turnover, a pair of assists, and a steal. He had 4 offensive rebounds, and like the offensive rebounds are my favorite, because he just does the thing that the tall kid does in youth basketball, which is like put his arms up in the air and the ball just comes to him. He's not like, they can't box him out because he's so big. I'm having a great time watching Derek Lively. I don't want to necessarily say progress, but like, he's just, the things that he's good at, they've really found a way to get the most out of him right now.
Yeah, for sure. And you're right about, the Wizards in the third quarter at one point they did not want to leave shooters, especially Tim. And Lively had 13 points in the third quarter, and they were all just dump offs and lobs, because the Wizards did not, like, usually the player that tags the roll man or crashes down to cover the help rotation is usually a guy from the corner, and they did not want to get rid of they did not want to ignore the corner in the third quarter, and you kind of saw what Lively was able to do. The Mavericks were, they were 5 of 13 from corner threes, so they weren't 1 of 5 from the left corner, which wasn't great, but 4 of 8 from the right corner, which is great. So they did not want to leave corner shooters, and Lively took advantage of that space for sure. And it was fun. I mean, it was a little pathetic from the Washington side how many lobs
they looked how the Mavericks looked last night, where it was just we're done here, and it's the second quarter.
Yeah, so that was fun. But that was Lively had a great game, had a couple blocks. Wizards still scored in the paint pretty well overall, but again, we've been talking about it. It's not necessarily a Lively thing, although there's some things that I think he can improve on, which I think I'm going to work on for something maybe later this week before the week's over. But again, they're doing what they need to do to win these games, which is great.
There were some other interesting points in the game that I'd want to talk about before I do, because this will probably be a shorter show than last night's show. For those of you who are here, those of you who are listening on the podcast, and for those of you who are live in the stream, if you wouldn't mind, coming over to the Pod Maverick YouTube page, heading over to this particular video, hitting that like button. leaving a comment on this particular video and really any of our videos. I tend to look at almost all of them. We had some funny ones last night where someone wasn't particularly, someone did not like that we were amused by how insane the NBA was last night. I don't know. It's great though. I love reading all of the comments. And if you're interested in our show, go ahead and hit subscribe as well. Thanks to Panda Hank and a few other people. We climbed past 2,000 subscribers a little bit earlier this week. I have a goal of 5,000 for the year because why not? But bit by bit, we are getting more followers and we're having a good time doing this. And I everybody that told Josh and I to make the switch to video earlier, I'm annoyed that I didn't listen. That's my fault because this is not, it's not as hard as I thought it was. But anyway, that's what I'm here for, to beg for followers and likes because I have no shame. Anyway, we really appreciate everybody's support. We really like doing these shows.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. One of the things I love about Indeed is it makes hiring all in one place so easy and streamlined so I can spend more time on the rest of my business. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
All right. So there's a couple more guys that we could kind of go through or situations in the game. Not really sure how you want to approach this because I think you could get to the back half of the bench and talk about some guys. The Grant Williams of it all has been kind of interesting. He's quietly put up a series of stinkers and it really hasn't mattered. I did like his passing tonight. The ball.
Yeah, I was going to say, was tonight necessarily a total stinker?
Well, the shooting's been rough, but the ball has been flowing through him offensively. And I just.
We lost your mic.
Woo, sorry.
You're back. Okay.
Yes, the ESPN autoplay for the page that I was on. So the ball really, really flows through Grant Williams sometimes, and he made some really nice plays. It was fun to watch.
Yeah, they are. I think we talked about this. I can't remember which game it was. Might have been the New Orleans game or the Clippers game. Mm-hmm. But it feels like they're doing this on purpose. Like they're getting Williams screening for Luka so that he can be the 4-on-3 outlet when teams decide to trap or hedge that pick and roll or play a little more aggressively instead of playing drop. And he's been making the right read pretty consistently. He's had some shots that he probably wishes he could get back.
Shout out to that finger roll air ball. Just absolutely gorgeous.
But hey, right idea. Like no one stepped when he caught the ball near the free throw line.
He expected to meet resistance. That's what he thought. Like that was why the ball was short. I think he was expecting contact anyway.
Right. And then, I think this is a new thing for him. I mean, in Boston, he was primarily he was not doing this in Boston. Like that's for sure. I mean, 7 is his career high for assists. He had 6 a couple of times last season, but he's career 1.2 assists per game guy. Like he has been primarily just spot up shooter in his career so far. And I mean, you're not going to see it on the stat sheet. He's still averaging about 1 assist per game in Dallas. But I've just noticed over the last maybe like 3 or 4 games, it feels like they've made an effort to make sure he's the one screening for Luka when they know that teams are going to be a little bit aggressive defensively in the pick and roll instead of let Lively screen. So I think he's getting more comfortable with that short roll operation. And yeah, again, he had maybe a couple shots he wishes he could get back, but he made he made the right read, 7 assists, 1 turnover. And even though he hasn't had the assist numbers in the last couple of games because he's either do the hockey assist or guys get fouled or what have you, I mean, he isn't turning the ball over with them trying this out. He had 2 against New Orleans, but I mean, everyone had 2 turnovers, I think, against New Orleans last night, but he had 0 against New Orleans on Sunday. He only had 1 against the Clippers on Friday. So, it's cool that they're kind of doing this, and he's not, no one's going to confuse him for like Draymond Green catching the ball at the free throw line and picking out shooters, but he's looking pretty good. And that's a spot that's hurt them for the last few years in Dallas, right? Like they would try it with Dorian or Reggie, and it just wasn't always there because I think those
might get one specific result. Yeah. Like whenever they'd screen with Reggie or with Seth Curry in years gone by, you're getting a specific thing out of that action. When Grant Williams gets the ball, there's a number of different things that could happen. And I think that makes all the difference. It was so funny. I guess I didn't realize how few assists Grant Williams was averaging. 7 is by far the most. I think he had like the next
6 was 6. I looked it up right before the show. Yeah. No, not here. Last season he had 6.
This season, the most he's had before that was 3. So like he more than doubled, and which was pretty interesting. And some of that's just right place, right time. But the fact that one of the things that drives me crazy about half the Dallas players over the years is they get it ingrained into their basketball thinking. Josh Green is the one I pick on the most about this, where it's like an auto rotate, where the ball comes to you and you're immediately looking to pass and not even considering what your other options are. When Grant Williams gets the ball, I feel like anything is on the table, which makes Dallas a lot harder to defend.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the thing we've been preaching since 2019 is that they don't necessarily need a ton of all-stars. They just need guys that know how to make plays with the ball. And sometimes people got misconstrued and were like, well, Josh, teams don't have 5 point guards. And it's like, no, they don't need 5 point guards, but like professional NBA players can make plays against a closeout or a double team. Like what was happening in Dallas was the outlier. Like not a lot of teams can field a roster that can be that incompetent away from the ball or with the ball in their hands. So I think the new additions, like these guys, just the skill level is just a little bit higher. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean these guys are running pick and rolls or throwing behind the back passes or you're running your offense through them. They just make the right reads because they're good basketball players. Mm-hmm. Like we're kind of seeing that with Derrick Jones Jr., where it's like, how many games has he already scored in double figures? And how many games did guys in his spot in the last 2 or 3 years get to double figures?
He set career high repeatedly. Like his career high, he's passed the career high he ever had at Duke, and then he's passed it again already. I mean, it's really, sorry. I'm looking up a specific stat, and I don't know where to find it. I probably should have asked you this beforehand about what I'm looking for next. But yeah, keep going.
No, yeah, just these guys, like a guy like Jones. I know we've talked about on the side a lot. Doyle's written about him, and we've had some other people write about him because his start to the season's been so good. But the thing that I like about him, and again, like he's not a playmaker. Like no one should confuse him for being a playmaker. But when he gets the ball, he knows what to do with it, and he knows what he can't do with it, which might be more important, really, if you think about it. Like he's not pump faking or passing up. Like if he's open, he shoots. If he's not, then he moves the ball. If there's a lane, he cuts. If he gets a closeout, that if he sees the slow defenders closing on him, he drives. Like he drives hard. Mm-hmm. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't, take a size up dribble. All that. He doesn't pump fake when he's open. Like those are just little things that can add up over time, over a course of a couple of possessions, that can really bog things down when you've got a guy like Luka that has to run the show. And it's like, look, if teams are going to throw so many defenders at Luka, you cannot be hesitant. You have to be decisive with your actions. And I think Jones is very decisive. That doesn't mean he's going to be awesome every game. He's going to miss shots. There's going to be stretches where he looks invisible. He's probably not like the long-term starter at the wing, going forward. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he is. Who knows? Maybe this is what but he just does things assertively in a way that they haven't had from guys his size the last couple of years.
Well, this is very simplistic of me, but the dunking is kind of emblematic of that. And one of the things I was looking for was like team dunks over the last, because the Mavericks are not a high flying team. You get Dwight Powell alley-oops and there's the occasional thunderous dunk from somebody else, but the Mavericks are not a team that dunks. It kind of never have been the whole time I watched them. And that's sort of what I was looking for, because I'm wondering what the record, how many team dunks they had the last several years. The reason I was looking around at Basketball Reference, because one of the things we were all really hypercritical of Luka several years ago is he had like 6 or 7 or 8 dunks his rookie year, and then he never had that many again. And so I know that it's out there, and somebody will probably tell me what it is, what the team. But if the pressure that guy puts on the rim, and I think you're right about long-term starter stuff, but the pressure that he puts on the rim is so interesting, because it causes cascades of defensive challenges and what teams are going to do to answer it. And I'm really interested in that sort of thing, because it just, the Mavericks haven't had that option. And I don't know, it's fun to sort of consider, because I feel like, it's 11 games now. We have talked about this before, but it's just, Luka just doesn't throw passes like he's throwing to these guys. It's so refreshing. I mean, our mutual friend / frenemy, Matt Moore, has been kind of, beating on the Mavericks a little bit lately, because he's not really a super big fan of Luka, talking about pace and such like that. And, kind of using some, I don't want to say like cherry pick numbers, but numbers to make an argument. But whether or not Luka is running more or less compared to the last several years, I don't necessarily care, because what my eyes are telling me and what the results are telling me is that Luka is pushing the ball to these guys, and then these guys are attacking the rim. I mean, the way Derek Jones goes at the rim almost every time where there's any amount of space is really amazing. We would have killed for that at certain points the last several years, where it was like, well, Luka's going to find the open shooter, but if the Mavericks weren't hitting their shots, it ultimately didn't matter.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, the dunking thing is funny. We need to look up how many dunks they have.
I mean, to me, that feels like such a, it's a way boiled down, overly simplistic way of looking at the point that we're both trying to make. But I feel like it's like dunks are exciting.
They're a more athletic team. We've talked about how unathletic they've looked for most of the Luka era. I mean, it makes a difference. And dunk, when you dunk the ball, I don't know, there's less chance. Like when a guy's driving the lane and he lays it up versus a dunk, guys, it's just, I don't know how to. Yeah, I think you know what I'm saying. It's just. It's a more automatic basket, I guess. And the Mavericks had guys that could not finish that aggressively in the past, I guess is the best way to say it. I'm looking it up right now because I thought it was funny. Where is it? Yeah, Derek Jones Jr. I don't think this is updated for tonight's game, so it's probably even better. But he's shooting 79% in the restricted area, which is
that's center shit. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not small forward stuff. That doesn't happen.
Right.
All right. Couple more guys we should hit on, a couple more things, and then I think we can head on out of here, close up shop a bit early, and I'll kick it over to our other live show, which you guys should consider joining. So I'm gonna flip my screen here because it's only, let's see here, this shot is only 9 seconds long, so this shouldn't demonetize us with YouTube. But it's a clip of It's a clip of Dante Exum where he was only 2 of 6 from the floor tonight. But if you're ever wondering why this guy at one point was a lottery pick, here is the play that just was a reminder of how freaking skilled this guy is. I was just amazed at this. All right, so we're gonna click over here. This is nope, wrong one. Can you see
I see Derek Jones Jr. NBA stats.
Share this tab instead. There we go. There we go. I'm good at running a live show. So let's watch this. So we got Dante Exum at the top of the screen. This is in the middle, towards the tail end of the second quarter. He's dribbling. He dribbles into one guy, spins back, spins into the. I want to say it's Gafford there. I could be wrong. And uses essentially a teardrop floater from his offhand, because I'm pretty sure he's right-handed.
Yep, he is.
And I mean, oh my God. Like, it's just a reminder of how freaking skilled some of these guys are.
Man, what was he, a 5th overall pick in his draft?
I mean, that's just a shot that very few other guys in the Mavericks, Kyrie Irving for one, Luka Doncic for another, but that might be the only two other guys who could even try that sort of shot. And he's going to get his spots, but my goodness, what a talented player. I was just really thinking about that. And then shout out to Seth Curry for getting on track. Because he is
welcome to the season, Seth Curry.
He's had a pretty bad, like, he's not been good. He's like one of his worst shooting seasons ever to date. Now the volume is so small, but he's one of the right, and he's one of the best 3-point shooters in history by percentage and volume. So it's like you knew something was going to break at some point. It was just nice that it happened tonight.
Yeah, and especially when you don't have Kyrie, that he had an opportunity there, and I think. Yeah, they needed someone to make his shots, and he did. He bailed him out on a couple of possessions. He only made he had 15 points. He had 4 2-pointers and 2 3-pointers. He had some nice shots inside the arc. Also, if he can get going a little bit, like that's just like he's given them, like he has basically been a non-factor this season. So
his minutes very clearly came at the expense of Jaden Hardy.
Yes.
And it was like his kid wanted to get a different look. And kudos to Hardy. He still got in and play, he still got in and played hard. This is it's a fascinating problem. One of the things I've heard Bill Simmons say repeatedly this year, that he thinks certain teams, Los Angeles Lakers in particular, have too many guys who need to play. I'm not sure that's the case with the Mavericks, and I certainly hope it isn't the case, because I like kind of the tiered structure of the roster. But just being able to have Seth there as like a 11th or 12th guy is pretty amazing.
Yeah, like that's a luxury that a lot of teams, I think, wish that they had. Like just the fact that he hasn't been needed and they're winning. Like it's not like they're losing and he's not playing. Like they're winning games and he hasn't played. And it's like, hey, Seth, we really need you for 20 minutes. Okay, 15 points. I'll make all my shots. Like it's cool. Like no worries. Like that's pretty cool. That's a neat party trick. And yeah, I'm with you on Exum. I think the thing that I think about every time, he's obviously he's not the biggest guy on the team, but like for his height, he's just a big dude. Like his wingspan, his girth, like his strength, like I don't know, like I'm just really impressed with it. Like I can see why he was a 5th overall pick for sure. Like his size and ball handling and passing combination, like that had to make scouts just kind of drool over the possibility of him, because he really is. I mean, he's not necessarily unique. There are definitely other guys his size that can make plays with his athleticism, but just like he's got a good physical package for sure. So I can see why he was drafted so high. I can see why he had multiple shots. He had another team try to give him another shot in the Cavs, and I'm just glad it worked out for him overseas so he can get better and come back to the NBA.
Yeah, and the Mavericks, this is some real inside baseball because it's way too early to give a shit about this. But I think that when they signed him to his deal, they were able to get the deal structured to where they have his bird rights. I could be wrong about this. I need Scott, CBA Mavs, to maybe pump something out about this, but I'm pretty sure they have a second year available for him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when the Thibault contract got matched, they had extra money and they gave him some of the MLE that was left over. Mm-hmm. And I think they either have his bird rights or they have him for another season, which is nice.
Which is real nice. Real nice. Kind of feels like a steal. Do we have anything else? Or should we get on to kind of the follow-up from last night's Kirk being mad on the internet?
Before that, I mean, do you want to talk about the elephant in the room?
Which one?
The other Aussie besides Dante Exum.
Oh, Josh, I don't know. I feel so bad.
I don't know. I don't even know if we should talk about it because
he was like suffice it to say he got the start and he was bad. Yeah. He continues to be not very good, and I feel bad for him because there's clearly some over processing going on. One of my favorite players to watch right now is Anthony Edwards, who appears to be one of the most natural athletes and natural basketball players that has come into the league in a long time. And what I mean by that is that between his athleticism and his feel for the game, he makes it all look so easy. Everything Josh Green does is hard. He makes everything hard. And until he can figure out a way to calm the fuck down and just play a little basketball, it's going to be a struggle bus.
Yeah. He looks like a man without a country. Like, just doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't seem to know his role on this team right now, which is really weird because it feels so, again, this is armchair quarterbacking, but yeah. from our vantage point, it feels really clear what his role should be, like 3-and-D defensive player and energy guy. And then in the games, it just kind of looks like, okay, do they want me to be a guy that can handle the ball a little bit? Do they need me to create some offense with my passing? Oh, okay. Do they need me to be a shutdown guy? Do they need me to be point of attack defender? Do I need to be a spot up shooter? Do I need to do that? Like,
right.
You can almost feel like you're seeing those gears turning.
The processing. Yeah. And that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I mean by the fact that it doesn't come. He's like, you could tell Anthony Edwards to go do a thing and he's going to be like, all right, I'm good. You don't need to tell me anything else. You tell Josh Green something, and it reminds me of elements of what my son does, who's 7 and is like extremely anxious, where he's just like, oh my God, all the time. And I think he'll get through it because if the team is winning without him, without needing him to be good, that's a good thing. And over time, hopefully they'll find situations. I'm very critical of Jason Kidd, but man, if he hasn't been good at finding situations for guys to thrive in.
Yeah, for sure. The thing with me will be, I don't really care about really the 0 points. I mean, that's
Cowboys
the extreme.
The jump passes.
Yeah, the 0 points in 37 minutes is pretty extreme. But to be honest, the points on the shooting doesn't, that part of it is not on my radar in terms of concerns. To me, I just want to see some defensive plays. I want to see consistent defense because the offense will come and go.
Yep.
Whatever. They don't need him to be a huge offensive. There's plenty of other guys that can pick him up on that end of the floor, but they need his defense. They really need him to be an impact defensive player. And that's the part that I'm a little where is that? So we'll see. But again, how many games? 12 games. There's plenty of time for him to figure that part out.
All right. We'll go here shortly. I wanted to put this at the end because it ultimately doesn't matter. We've been doing this pod 4.5 years, roughly, maybe 5. We're this close to 1,000 episodes, and we're probably actually over, but we've lost some during the transition. I have a penchant for getting mad. It's not new. I was mad last night. I was also right. There are times when I will backpedal and be like, you know what? I went too far. I was right. Tim Cato of The Athletic, I think he said on their new show that this might have been Luka's worst game of his career last night. That was where I was. I didn't really come out and say that, but I was feeling it. Luka played a very bad game. I woke up this morning to less criticism than I would have thought for that take. The Reddit community was really pissy with Luka, which was shocking because that's a place where you get a fair amount of hey, the Mavericks are good. Everybody just needs to shut the fuck up. That's kind of the vibe that I get from Mavs Reddit. YouTube is kind of a mixed bag. Twitter is what it is, and Facebook is insane. So it's when I see these sorts of notes, and so but as the day wore on though, and I get the people that chime in on Twitter once a day, they don't live there like me, which granted is a healthy position. I started to see more and more of well, you just need to support your guy. If you really say you love him, you need to support him in all things. I'm like, no, that's not what love and support is. If you're in a healthy relationship, you tell people how you feel. Now, granted, Luka doesn't give a shit what I say, but it's okay to say a bad thing is a bad thing. Luka played bad last night. Luka had 6 turnovers in 8 minutes. Do you know how many possessions they had during that period? In an 8-minute period, they probably had in the neighborhood of, I would guess, 14 possessions. Maybe less. He turned it over on 6 of them. That's hard to do.
What was that stat I shared that game? It is only that many turnovers in that amount of time has only from one player has only happened 40 times since 1996, 97. So
times 82
like,
games times 30 teams times 30 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Not many.
Yeah.
Shit happens, and it's usually big men, to be quite honest with you, because that's the sort of stuff that happens. Anyway, I just want everybody to know that
fine. Like Luka's fine. We don't think he's not, he's still an MVP
we couched
candidate.
that perfectly. Yeah.
Like
I couched it all, but people still get unhappy with it because they don't want to hear criticism of their guy. Yeah. We didn't even see some of the comments where first he sort of blamed, he talked about how the court was slippery. God, court didn't look fucking slippery for the New Orleans Pelicans and their bajillion points, And Kid made comments about it, and then Mark Cuban even kind of indicated that he hopes the Mavericks don't have to do it because they're worried about the slip. And it's like, shout out to the Mavericks for impressive party level messaging, but it's okay. Luka did play like ass. It was and the secondary thing is where you had a lot of people being like, well, it's just one. It's not a big deal. It's one. Guys, use your brains as to why you think he didn't play well. Just think about it for a minute. Why might have he not played well? All right. We had a great time hanging out here. We're going to do a live show here in a few minutes. Come back and yell at me. Tell me my takes suck. Come back.
That's the thing is, if you're talking to Kirk on Twitter, he invites you to these live shows. Come up, don't tweet at him, talk to him.
Right, this is much more fun.
He will invite you.
Basketball.
Yeah, diffuse the situation.
Well, it's also different. It's like, cause I used to go to a lot of open court runs, and it's like whenever you kind of play with quasi strangers, people you only play basketball with, those are some of the most fun basketball conversations I have because it's people that play and kind of know basketball then wanting to talk about that. And so that's where it's just, I don't know. I love actual conversation. I don't have anybody in my real life. There's the occasional person that I run into that is really into basketball, but it's why I do this. Trying to think. We have an interesting piece coming out in the morning from Gracie that I liked. We should have a couple more things coming up to Mavs Moneyball. We will be back Friday because I think the Mavericks play again because the NBA season is a relentless march. Do you have anything you want to get off your chest before we get out of here?
No, I don't think so. What's next is the Bucks, right?
That's going to be a fascinating one because I think the Bucks are this close to a certain level of implosion. They're one of the worst defenses in the league, despite over the past several years being a good one. They are a terrible transition defense. However, they do have these two very good basketball players you are familiar with. Actually, they have like 5 very good basketball players you're familiar with. So it's the Mavericks are going to need to bring their A game.
They are 7-4. I mean, I think this is going to be the first time they've played a team that has a current winning record since the Denver game. Maybe. I mean, a lot of teams they've been playing at the time they've played them have been either 500 or below. So another measuring stick.
I'm jealous of how good that take is. That's really something. All right. That'll be at 7 o'clock. It'll be on NBA TV and then Bally Sports for everybody local. So look forward to Josh and I talking to you guys about that game, probably at a more normal time. Back out and go to your YouTube page and come wait for me in the live show. I will be joining that here shortly. Thanks so much for hanging out. This has been Kirk Henderson and Josh Bowe of Pod Maverick and Mavs Moneyball. Everyone have a great night. Go Mavs.